So I want to go ahead and introduce our first presenter today, Dr. Andrea Appa. She introduced herself a little bit, but I want to go ahead and just share a little bit more about Dr. Appa before she begins. She is a tenured associate professor of English for academic purposes at Broward College. She earned her BA in English-Spanish translation in Argentina, her MED for English for speakers of other languages at Florida National University, and her EDD in higher education leadership from Nova Southeastern University. She has held several positions at Broward College, including faculty senate president, academic associate dean, and student success advisor. She was the recipient of the Jan R. Cummings Endowed Teaching Chair in Critical Thinking at Broward College. Welcome, Andrea, and I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
Thank you, Jody. Can everyone hear me? Well, I think I'm good, right? I unmuted myself.
You're perfect.
Thanks. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. And I think Jody did a great job in introducing myself. Today, and as you can see here on the slide, I want to share some ways on how you can engage students through online active learning strategies now that it's our new normalcy of teaching remotely, blended in some cases, synchronously or asynchronously. And so I want to focus mainly on two main strategies. So as you can see here, I have pre-assessment strategies and video checkups. So go ahead to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So as you know, students tend to lose the attention when you lecture after 15, 20 minutes. So doing that, you have to find ways to chunk your lecture. And you can do that by incorporating some active learning techniques. And these are two that I want to share with you. And in some cases, you want to make sure that you help re-energize the class lesson and making sure that they're understanding what you're teaching. So you can do this, like, let's just say after 10, 15 minutes of giving a class lecture on a lesson, you can start with some questioning and maybe even integrating that with some technology. And these are the things that I want to go over with you today. So some of the question and integrating technologies that you can chunk your lectures are, and the ones that I have right in front of you, and I'm going to go into detail soon, are ungraded pre-assessments, right? And that could be done on your learning management assessment tool. In our case, we use D2L. Some of you use Canvas, Blackboard. So you could create before quizzes, is what I call them. And we'll go more into details with that. You can also use another type of questioning technique called Kahoot. Some of you are already familiarized with that. That was actually the game that and how I had won my endowed teaching back in 2014-15. And another way is Zoom poll, which Michelle just shared with us. So these are the techniques that I want to elaborate more on, and so you could use in your class. And then finally, I have video checkups. These checkups are not necessarily at a certain time in your class. You can use that right after as an announcement, right after maybe before a quiz or before an exam that you may have, or just to check in with the students. So I'll also share that with you and even give you a sample one that I use in my class. All right, let's go to the next one. And so why did I choose these strategies? Well, for one thing, and I have them all written here, but to help reinforce learning, right? You want to check that students are understanding what you're teaching. Again, this is a way of chunking your lecture. You want to encourage class participation. The best way to re-energize the class is, okay, let's start. Let's see how we're doing. You're going to see with Kahoot, it's a very vivid, fun, engaging game. It's a type of polling, and I'll share that with you. It also, all three of the pre-assessments offer immediate feedback. My apologies for these noises. For the students as well as for you as an instructor. It also helps the students realize, oh, I need to go back and review the material. I'm getting this wrong, or I'm not really understanding this point, or even at a next, opportunity within the class or the next class for students to ask questions, right? So that you can go ahead and provide them with some more feedback. And ultimately, as I have here at the very bottom, it's just to support them, and they feel like they continuously participate in the class, right? Because you're offering your support and allowing them to ask questions and to feel that they're being supported ultimately. So how am I using this in the remote environment? So yes, today's remote environment, you want to find ways to engage students. All of these strategies, you can use them in a face-to-face course, but you can also use them in a remote learning class. Now with the way that we're being challenged to, navigate our online platform to teach, and even with Zoom, or in some cases, some use Blackboard, um, Collaborate, you can actually use any of these strategies within the online environment. And I always say that what makes you a great teacher in the classroom makes you a wonderful or even better teacher online. So I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to showcase some of these strategies. Um, on the next slide here, and I wanted to give you an idea of my typical student. As I said earlier, I teach degree-seeking, non-native English-speaking students, and many of these students require special attention, especially because they're learning the language and they're learning how to navigate the American system, the cultural, right? This is a new culture for them. And I wanted to share here with you a profile, right? An avatar, if you'd say, of one of my students. And I'll go ahead and read this one. And this, everyone, is Rodrigo. And you can see here the Brazilian flag. He's a 30-year-old Brazilian who migrated to the United States a couple of years ago after experiencing an ongoing battle with poverty in his home country, Brazil. Rodrigo lives with his mother and sister. He is taking language readiness courses, which are the EAP courses, English for Academic Purposes, at Broward College while he's working part-time. His goal is to finish these courses and move on to his degree in computer science. And so these courses, and in some cases, at least at Broward College, differently, it's different at our sister institutions, but we have 15 courses, and it all depends on where they place. But they need to complete these courses to help develop their language, and so that they are college ready for the courses in their program, like 1101 or any of the math courses. You need to be very competent in the language for you to understand, comprehend in a classroom, as well as communicate. So as a second language learner, Rodrigo has faced many challenges of assimilation and acculturation since arriving to the United States, especially the fact that, here his journey in the American higher education system. So that just gives you an idea of the type of student that linguists and professors like me work with. And so these are underprepared students because of their language. Okay, yes, go ahead, Steve, to the next one. All right. So in this case, I wanted to now share with you what these 3 pre-assessments that I just introduced you to. The first one is the Zoom poll, which Michelle kindly shared with us. She wanted to know about your AQ status, right? And so you can use these type of pre-assessments, these questions, you can prepare them right before your class, of course. So during your lecture, let's just say 10 minutes in, you want to go ahead and just check their understanding. You can have 3 or 4 questions, pose 3 or 4 questions using this poll. And this is done through Zoom. Okay. Now, another way, and I don't know, Steve, if you can now give me the right to share, is the Kahoot. Let me see how I'm going to do this. 1 second, everyone. Let me just make sure that I did not lose internet connection. Okay, here we go. So this is what Kahoot looks like, right? And Kahoot is a type of polling, right? But it's a little more engaging, right? It's very colorful, very easy to use, user-friendly to use, and students just really enjoy this. And you can actually create polls, and here you have a list of ones that I've used in my classes. You can add images. You can also, after a question, go over a lesson if you see that the students are not, responding correctly. Students feel comfortable here because no one knows exactly who's answering, who did it right, who did it wrong, but they're learning from this. So you can create your own, but what's even neater now with this whole online learning is that Kahoot, you could go under Discover here. And this is pretty neat. If you don't have time to create a Kahoot, right, because you have to create questions, you can go ahead and put in the topic of your class. So let's say I'm teaching verb tenses, right? And you have a list of all the types of Kahoots that you could just choose from. So you don't have to create one. You can already have one done. And I thought that was pretty neat because when I first started using Kahoot, I had to create all of these, get them prepared and ready to go. And students, again, really enjoy this because of there's music in the background. They're just really engaging. So that's a type of questioning technique, right? Aside from the Zoom poll. And then finally, I also wanted to share, which I had explained in my description when we shared the flyer, was a little bit about my before quizzes. So I create on our online platform, D2L in this case. Can everyone see? Jody, can you see quizzes here? Just want to make sure that you all can see.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I've created before and after quizzes for each of my lessons. So these before quizzes are the pre-assessments. Students get 2 attempts, right? They're ungraded. And what's neat about this is they get to review, right? It helps reinforce their understanding of the material, but most importantly is they get to jot down what mistakes they made and then bring questions to the next class. So that's pretty cool. And they get unlimited time. And like I said, 2 attempts. And they're prepared for the after quiz. Once they do the after quiz, they only get 1 attempt and it's graded. So again, it's reinforcing what they've learned. It's giving them the opportunity to receive that feedback. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, Steve, so that you can continue with the slides. All right. Michelle, how are we doing? How much time do I have left? Good.
About 1 more minute.
Oh gosh, okay. So quickly, so in addition to these pre-assessments, I also have these video checkups. And I want to share with you, because I only have 1 minute, what that looks like. In these video checkups, I generally tend to use them right after the before quizzes to give students an overall idea of how well they did, how they performed on the before quiz, what kind of question they may have had issues with. And then most importantly, again, review what college resources they can take advantage of, like the tutoring. And of course, I help them again navigate where they can access the tutoring, where they can sign up and make an appointment. So without further ado, do you want to go ahead and click on that video, Steve? Good morning, class. How are you all? Just wanted to send you this quick message to provide you with some feedback and some useful, helpful information and resources for you to review on this lesson that you just completed. Before quiz number 3, vocabulary and context. Well, good news. The class average was 85 to 90. And the only really question that most of you had trouble with was question number 15. And that question was about the meaning of the word inoperable. If you recall, in module number 3 in our D2L course content, I had provided you with the list of all the prefixes and suffixes. So I would encourage that you go back and take a look at that list so that you can review the meanings of all these prefixes. And please do remember that a prefix changes the meaning of the word and the suffix changes the part of speech, right? Thank you, Steve. And that concludes my presentation, Jody. since I'm done with the time. Thanks.
Are you sure you were finished there, Dr. Appa?
Well, I don't want to, well, this, and then again, it's just letting everyone know that students really, like I said before, they've really appreciated these before quizzes, because when I do survey my students at the end of the class session, as well as midterm, they do share how much fun and how much they learn through these questioning techniques, these pre-assessments.